Breaking news out of the Inner Harbor, where a massive group has gathered, and we're hearing reports of multiple fights.
You can see the scene right now on the left side of your screen. You can also see people and flashing lights from police.
Well, Kai, we're live on Pratt Street at Commerce Street. Now, look behind me. Several police officers here at this corner, and then look across the street here. Several groups of youth standing here. I can tell you when we got here about 30 minutes ago, so many more youth, so many more police officers here. They did tell some of these businesses, we're live out front of Shake Shack, Chick-fil-A. Those businesses were told to close. Police officers telling them it's better if they shut down.
Hey soldiers, Baltimore is effectively dead, all right, from an investment standpoint, from a safety standpoint. Now, we're going to examine Baltimore. We've been talking about this in general, looking at several different areas of the country, but we're going to drill down into Baltimore, and here's why. First of all, Baltimore is near and dear to my heart. I was born and raised there, and it was a beautiful city, great place to live growing up back in the 70s and 80s. Okay, yeah, 70s and 80s, guys, 1970s and 80s. And now it has just flipped after the mid-'80s when the drug epidemic came through. It was never the same, and it continues to devolve. Now, here is why we're examining this on a channel called Soldiers of Finance. Let's say you get an opportunity to invest in Baltimore, whether by property taxes or by buying a house there, okay? Or they're trying to revitalize the downtown Inner Harbor area. It's not going to work. And I'm going to tell you exactly why. This time is different from the 1980s when they did it the first time. And you can overlay this same reason to all of these other cities out there, okay? And all of these other urban areas. So when you think about investing in those areas, and remember, investing in those areas doesn't mean you are buying a McDonald's necessarily. It could mean you're just buying a house to live in or to rent. Well, you might want to rethink that after this video. Okay, so as I always say, guys, enlist, become a soldier of finance, subscribe, hit the subscribe button. Let me know you did it in the comments and I will salute you. Also, hit the thumbs up. The more thumbs up this video gets, the more people will be offered the opportunity to see it. And we want people to understand how this economy is evolving locally, nationally, and globally. Now, I'm coming to you today from my property. I gotta, do some multitasking, so I gotta make this video. And in the process, I'm fertilizing fruit trees. This is the kind of thing that constitutes wealth. I don't have the latest car, okay? I don't have the latest fashion items, brand name items. I have nice clothes, but they are, I could go to my prom in my suit jacket. I can go to my wedding, someone else's funeral, and my own. Okay, I have timeless clothing. So I'm out here building my wealth by fertilizing these fruit trees so that we can replace some of our calories and be more self-sufficient. Listen, you don't have to have property in order to do it. You could do it at a community garden. I just want to slide that in there, all right? Because as this economy continues to evolve, you're going to need to change your definition of wealth, and you're going to need to look at investment opportunities that actually totally benefit you. There's little to no question in how this will turn out, okay? Now, if we look at a city like Baltimore, there's a big time question. They're trying to revitalize the downtown area. In a second, I'm going to tell you why that's not going to work. And all of these people who are putting their life savings into possibly locating businesses there or moving there, God forbid you put your kids in the school there. You want to talk about an investment? Your children are definitely an investment in the future and your future and their future, right? Well, that's an investment that will go straight to hell if you put them in a Baltimore City school, let me tell you. Entire downtown is effectively dead. Baltimore City descends further into turmoil. And look, let me tell you, I'm a product of the Baltimore City school system, okay? But from ages ago, all right? It's not the same animal at all. Downtown Baltimore is plagued with shootings, carjackings, muggings, and out-of-control packs of teenagers wreaking havoc. Baltimore residents can thank 5 decades of Democrat politicians for mismanaging this once thriving town. Absolutely. All right. Now, look, it's not anything necessarily wrong with being a Democrat. Okay. There was once a point in my life where I was a registered Democrat. But I was a Democrat in the mold of the Kennedy Democrat, okay? Fiscal responsibility, taking accountability for oneself. Remember that whole thing where Kennedy said, ask not what your country can do for you, but ask what you can do for your country. Well, if Kennedy was reincarnated and his nephew, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is now running for president. He's going to see a hard way to go. And the reason why is because he's not a part of the machine, okay? And he's probably going to come talking some personal responsibility, and they're going to excoriate him as the evil white man and the privileged white man and all of this garbage, okay? When in fact, ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. If we went back to that and people started to look within themselves on how they could improve themselves without relying on a massive behemoth government, a lot of things would change. Earlier this month, the Inner Harbor District, now they're calling it the Inner Harbor District. We call it the Inner Harbor, okay, or the Harbor, was overrun by hundreds of teenagers that resembled an apocalyptic scene from a Hollywood Netflix movie. The video that we're gonna see this video provided some insight into why people are shunning the area. Okay, absolutely. You're gonna see folk rampaging throughout the city, and you just imagine. I want you to put yourself in this mental situation. You are walking down the street with your lady, and you just came from dinner. Look at the waterfront here. Isn't that nice? And then in front of you, there are 200 rampaging teenagers. Okay? Kind of like something out of The Walking Dead. Okay? Remember those scenes when they would turn a corner and be like, oh my God, here comes a horde of zombies. Okay? And it was the feeling of anxiousness, hopelessness. All right. Well, that's how you're going to feel trying to get back to the parking garage to get you your car. And that's just step one. Then you have to get the hell out of the city. So it goes from The Walking Dead to Escape from New York. All right. This is why people are saying, I don't want to come down. And the other thing is, on a good day in Baltimore, you have to contend with squeegee kids, which is nothing but an extortion scam, okay? Especially when you consider that your car has a system in it where you can be going 180 miles per hour and clean the damn windshield yourself, all right, from inside a moving vehicle. But this is the kind of thing that is going on. The police have backed off since 2015. They're reactive, not at all proactive. And some might say, hey, can you blame them? Okay. So we got the rampaging hordes. Let's take a look.
2 minors were shot tonight while police officers were breaking up a large fight near the Inner Harbor. Now Mayor Brandon Scott says they will no longer tolerate this. Jessica Albert has the latest.
Baltimore police confirm a 14-year-old and a 16-year-old were shot here on East Pratt Street near the Inner Harbor. They say they've made 2 arrests in this shooting. Police say this all happened around 9 p.m. They say there were about 200 kids here. A fight broke out. Police say during that fight, they were trying to make an arrest. While they were doing that, gunshots rang out and the 2 juveniles were hit. One was shot in the leg, the other in the back. One is stable, the other is in critical condition but stable. Shortly after the shooting, police began tracking 2 suspects. They followed one who was on a dirt bike. Police say he drove the bike into a garage at police headquarters. That person was arrested. Officers found a loaded gun on him. The second suspect was arrested at the corner of Light and Lombard Streets. Police found a loaded ghost gun on him.
This speaks to a larger issue that young people would, number one, have ease of access to these firearms and would use them indiscriminately, shooting people within 50 feet of 25 to 30 police officers who were in the block.
This is the second time police responded to large crowds at the Inner Harbor in a week. They were also out here Wednesday night. Police say they were expecting a large group of kids to gather this weekend because kids are on spring break, so they had extra patrols in the area. Mayor Brandon Scott also announced the city will be enforcing its curfew to prevent incidents like this.
We are going back to the old days. We will be enforcing the youth curfew in Baltimore as we move into the latter spring and summer months. So to parents, know the curfew law.
Okay, so absolute chaos, all right? Absolute chaos. And who's thinking about spending money in that environment, right? This leaves us with local media outlet Baltimore Brews reporting about a mall situated on the waterfront. We call it this Harbor Place, okay? Once popular with tourists and residents, absolutely, has had lots of activity and is now nothing more than a ghost town, absolutely. Harbor Place used to be the place to be, all right? You could go downtown, you could, oh man, there was so much stuff. I used to work on the corner of Pratt and Light in the Verizon building, and every single day in the summer there was something exciting and to do, okay? Something that literally hordes of office workers, tourists out in the streets. Either you're going up to Lexington Market, you're coming down to Harbor Place Pavilion, getting something from literally dozens of restaurants, okay, in the area. The aquarium, the Maritime Museum. They had Barnes and Nobles down there at the time. The water taxi, take it over to Fort McHenry. All of this great stuff that you could do, okay? And at the time, okay, and I was working down there Harbor Place was there before I started my professional career, but I got to really enjoy it, obviously, when I started making money. Would bring, my dates before I got married. I'd bring a date down there and me and her would have a nice time, in one of the restaurants or whatever. First of all, I showed you the hordes of rampaging teenagers. You've seen that scene in Chicago, okay? So that's going on. And then to boot, a lot of the businesses, the restaurants have left. That Harbor Place Pavilion had a Phillips Seafood, which, let me give you a little hint, people from outside Maryland. There is a difference between there's nothing like a Maryland crab cake. And you can't even get a true Maryland crab cake everywhere in Maryland, okay? It's really something that's Eastern Shore, Baltimore City kind of thing, okay? The best of them, all right? Phillips was great for tourists. Not many Baltimoreans would go there, and those that would definitely would not get a crab cake, okay? You're going to be doing better off. I'm going to tell you where to get a good crab cake, but you might want to order it online because you're going to have to run a gauntlet to actually, of junkies and, God knows what, to actually get to this place called Lexington Market, place called Fadley's. Anyway, great crab cake, but you want to order it offline because you want to actually get to enjoy it, right? All right. Now, the Baltimore Brew has got a resident saying, I knew this place had gone down, but I did not know it was this bad. This is according to Patel. He's a software engineer who recalled eating at a restaurant in the Waterfront Mall about a decade ago. He said, I remember it being pretty nice back then. Yeah, he's right. All that's left of the mall is a Hooters restaurant. Baltimore Brews, and that Hooters is in a it's in a 2-story building with nothing else. Okay, a sprawling 2-story building with nothing else. All that's left of the mall is a Hooters restaurant. Baltimore Brews pictures show almost every other store has moved out. Okay, so we can take a look at some of those pictures here. And now, as the media outlet explains, what to do with this prized piece of commercial real estate. Yes, it is a prized piece of commercial real estate sitting right there on the waterfront. Beautiful views, okay? And like I said, there was nothing like it. I've been to about half of the states, okay? And there was nothing like it anywhere. Not even that Manhattan waterfront rivaled this, okay? Not for me, at least. And this is why it was a big tourist attraction. All right, so the question before Mayor Brandon Scott and other city leaders who gave Harbor Place's new owner, MCB Real Estate, 3 years to figure out a plan. They got 3 years to figure out a plan because this is a hell of a quandary. Think about that. If it was really a prime piece of real estate that you could come in and just, boom, do something with, why would you need a 3-year plan? Okay? It's not rocket science, guys. We're going to put maybe mixed use, residential, and retail. Okay? There you go. That's the formula. What else could it possibly be? Among the other terms of the amended lease that the Baltimore Board of Estimates approved were 3 years of rent abatement and up to $1 million future planning and other costs. So they're giving them a break on the rent for 3 years. Why? You don't give anybody a break on rent if the joint is jumping. You know what I'm saying? MCB co-founder P. David Bramble says he needs more time to devise a turnaround strategy. The board members who approved the deal did so without questions or comments. Scott himself, the mayor, was absent from the meeting because he was attending the African American Mayors Association conference in D.C. They probably gave him a speaking agreement down there. He had to speak. And you know, these politicians these days are all about self-aggrandizement. Actually being in your city and trying to figure out how you can solve this Inner Harbor problem. Yeah, well, that's secondary. All right, so you've got them trying to figure out what the hell to do with this piece of property. All right. Now, around it is some residential, a lot of condos and whatnot. And who the hell would buy a condo in Baltimore's downtown? I just don't know. But because these things aren't cheap. All right. Ritz-Carlton. There's one of the names of the condo buildings. So that should tell you all you need to know. So the question is, the entire downtown is, the statement is, the entire downtown is effectively dead. One person said, who commented on the Baltimore Brews article. This is in the comment section of the article. Who in their right mind would want to risk coming downtown when news out of Baltimore is all about shootings, carjackings, muggings, and out-of-control packs of teenagers milling about on a semi-regular basis? Right. It's hit or miss. So you might think, oh, well, they're not going to be there. They were there last week, so they're not going to be there this week, right? The police are going to control it. No. Here they are again. Democrats and progressive leadership in the city have done a wonderful job of taking something nice and destroying it with terrible policy. I think you can hear you might be able to hear the mowers on the other side of the property. The consequence is an exodus of business. And it's not just a Baltimore problem, right? Metro areas with progressive leadership like Chicago, San Francisco, Portland are finding businesses are leaving in droves. So why won't this work? I'm going to tell you. Here's why it won't work. When they bought the Harbor Place down there and revitalized it the first time, what existed there before was just like docks, okay? It was like a long shore. It wasn't a tourist attraction. Most of the people in Baltimore City had absolutely no reason to go down there at all. It was, down by the waterfront type thing. Maybe they could use it in some old, movie where you got the fog rolling in on the abandoned waterfront. That's what it was. They had pretty much one restaurant down there. This was a long time ago, called Connolly's. And the attraction to that is Connolly's had a parrot that would walk up and down the aisles and he would say things, okay? And while you're eating your crab cake, you got a kick out of it. That was the biggest attraction down there, all right? So they came in and they said, hey, we got a waterfront here. We can push all that dock work out over here, out of sight, and then just bring in the crown jewel of shopping, dining, different types of attractions, again, like the National Aquarium, into this area. The Science Center, boom, this will be the hub. In the wintertime, they had an ice rink down there. They would freeze it up. People could go ice skating. Just lovely. Now, what's the difference today? Well, the difference today is if you touch a black teenager, you're going to be, especially if you're law enforcement, you're going to be branded a racist. He or she could be doing whatever the hell they want to do, okay? And you could be completely justified in saying, hold on, we got to put the cuffs on you because you just shot a guy, which actually happened at the Inner Harbor a few weeks ago, okay? And is not an infrequent occurrence, all right? We have at least 2 or 3 of those each year. The climate today will not allow the city of Baltimore or any of these cities to revitalize in such a way that they can guarantee that these places will be crime. I'm not going to say crime-free, because where's crime-free, right? A long time ago, even out here at my property, we had some kid come through at night and he opened the car and he took little items out of the car, okay? So almost no place is crime-free. I guess if you live up in the wilds of Alaska, you cannot consider it a crime if a grizzly bear steals something, takes something off your property. But the political climate of today is not consistent with economic development of the nature that Baltimore is trying to pursue. Again, the glory days of Harbor Place are over because you're not going to install a curfew. You're not going to implement that because that's racist, okay? If you arrest teenagers, then we'll say, oh, well, they just need more programs. We got programs coming out of the woodwork, okay? And the kids that are in those programs are not the kids that are causing trouble, all right? The kids that cause trouble, they're not in the program. So, no, we're not just one more midnight basketball court away from, total bliss, all right? And total utopia. No. So, quite frankly, I would not invest in Baltimore at this time. I don't care if you're a conglomerate. I don't care if you are a small business owner, entrepreneur, or a resident, all right? Again, from the standpoint of a resident, you're going to come in, you're going to pay some of the highest property taxes in the jurisdiction. You're not going to be able to get your snow shoveled unless you live on the same block as the mayor. Your kids, if they got to, you'll probably end up saying, this is why a lot of people move out of Baltimore. They come in, they got the best of intentions, and they say, oh, we're going to start a family here. Then the kid gets old enough to go to school. And then you realize, well, can't send them, not to the zone school, because it's just mass chaos, all right? So then you say, well, how much are these private schools? You start looking at that and you're saying, damn. So then you start looking at other jurisdictions and saying, okay, I could send my kid to a good school and reduce my property taxes. They can go to a public school. Yeah, bye, Baltimore. That is why Baltimore loses about 1% of its population every 18 months. It's according to the U.S. Census. Money is marching out. All right, so that's an examination of what's happening in these cities, Baltimore in specific, because I know about Baltimore, again, born and raised there. All right, some of my family still live there, all right, in the city. So, there we have it. So I want you to go on and I want you to check out a video that we did. This was last week. And basically, this video is going to walk you through a larger issue happening in the world, in the United States right now. The death of the dollar. Peter Schiff is talking about this at length. And he's also saying this one thing, this particular asset, there are a few, not just this one, but this particular asset is going to weather this storm, as the dollar starts to, fade in prominence. All right, guys, I'll talk to you soon.